What's up, everyone? Welcome to the brand new The Morbid Files show. I'm your host, TeXXX, and for the very first show, I have a special guest tonight, the one, the only, Roberto Lombardi. Roberto, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, man. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing good, man. Staying busy, I'm sure.
Yes, always.
Now, before we get into the show, I have to say that the first time I ever heard of you was through the Elm Street fan films that I saw you in. And I have to say, to start out with, I'm very hard on people trying to, I guess, fill the shoes of Freddy.
Sure.
But when I saw you, man, I was like, this guy is fucking awesome. And I mean, just a phenomenal job.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Doing a fan film is not an easy thing for just that very reason that you just said.
Right.
And honestly, I thought when Chris first approached me to do it, I thought to myself, all right, if I'm lucky, about 50% of the people who are Elm Street fans are going to like this, and the other half are going to be like, get that guy out of here. That's kind of what I was thinking, but it was really a lot more positive than that. So
right. Yeah, I think you did a tremendous job, man. You did an awesome job. Well, to get on with I guess, in the interview, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you come from and stuff.
Okay. Well, I was born in Philadelphia, and I pretty much come from a family of people who are all artists, actors, creative people. So kind of that bug has always been there, to like the performing thing has always been there, and on both sides of my family, mother and father. And I got interested in acting pretty early on. I had a long law enforcement career too.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Be surprised how many cops are actors. And yeah, I just born and raised here in the Philly area, and travel a lot now.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Now, with acting and everything, how did you get into acting? Was it something that, as a young kid, you always knew you wanted to be, or was it something later on in life you decided to do? Or
combination of both, actually. I got interested in acting fairly early. When I was a very little kid, like under 10 years old. I was on 2 or 3 episodes of a local Philadelphia kids TV show.
Okay.
And that kind of sparked my interest in, you a little kid, you see yourself on television, so, it kind of sparked something. But a little later on, like when I was in my late teens and everything, I was an extra in a couple of Hollywood films, Blowout, John Travolta movie, and that music film, Eddie and the Cruisers. I was in both of those as an extra.
Wow.
Then kind of went off and did a little bit of local theater, and then I also played music. So I was in a lot of bands. I was one of those 80s hair guys with the head down to here and the hair up to here, that type of thing.
A lot of hairspray.
Yeah, I think I'm partially responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer. So, yeah.
Wow. Awesome, man. That's cool.
That's how I got into it, definitely.
Really. What was, I guess, some of your, let me go back to what really excites you, or, about acting? What really gets you about it?
I think what I like about acting is you can get a role, and basically with acting these days, when you're breaking into it, the really heavy human kind of dramatic roles, they come a little later. When you're trying to break into this business, it's really kind of fantastical stuff that gets you noticed right away. So as an actor, it's kind of interesting for somebody to put on a face and an attitude and a character that is totally not you at all.
Right.
Me personally, I wind up playing, because of the way I look, I wind up playing a lot of bad guys and a lot of cops.
Right.
Those are the two things I get the most. I am nothing like the bad guys, but it's a lot of fun to play that kind of role.
Right.
So, yeah, that was interesting to me.
Wow, nice. Now, what was your very first film that you were ever in?
With a speaking role or as an extra?
Yeah, with a speaking role.
Okay. That wasn't until 2006. I was in kind of a comedy that was called Bazookas the Movie. It was filmed, it didn't come out till 2009, but it was filmed in 2006, and that was my first speaking role in a feature film.
Really?
It's pretty funny.
Nice.
I play the janitor of the gym, of this gym that's featured in the movie. And I'm like the straight guy in it. Everybody else is kind of loony and crazy, and I'm like the angry janitor throughout the whole thing. It was pretty funny.
Right. Now, with going into acting and stuff, is it really hard, I guess, as an actor to get noticed with so many actors out there, or is it basically who you know, or?
It's both of those things. Mm-hmm. To really break, if you don't know anybody, the only way you're really going to break in is you have to go on a ton of auditions. And I mean, for anything, even if it's a project that you think is not something you're really interested in, go on the audition, get yourself noticed. Even if the movie isn't good, if it gets made and it gets released, you still got a credit. Right. You go on from there. But so yeah, it's very difficult to get yourself noticed, especially if you're in a particular age group. This is where it actually works out for me, because people younger than I am, especially females that look a certain way and men that look a certain way, it's really hard to break in because there's a lot of actors out there. Right. My age group, it's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I can play back and forth between like a 15 to 20 year age gap, depending on makeup and everything. Right. It's a little bit easier for me because I could play 37 and I could play 52, depending on the makeup. But the other part of what you said about what you know is once you get into the industry, you start to work with people and you're going to build relationships with them, and they're going to come to you like I do with Chris Notarilli, who makes the Kruger films. When I first started working with him, I had to audition. I got a very small role in his first feature film. And then our relationship, our friendship and our professional relationship built from there. Mm-hmm. And now he writes roles for me. Like, I don't have to audition for him anymore. He writes roles for me.
Very nice.
I'm not in everything that he does, but he'll put a character in, especially for me, or he'll write a film with me in mind for it. So
very nice, man. Awesome. Now, if you could go back, what's probably one of the craziest roles you've ever had to play? If you had to pick one.
Crazy in what way?
I guess I don't want to say spooky, or just off the top, just kind of out of the box, so to speak.
Well, I could give you, what would come to my mind is a few different things. There's the most difficult film that I had to work on, as far as it wasn't an easy production. Then there's the most fun I've had on a film, and then there's the most professional experience I've had on a film. You take your pick. Which one do you want?
Go with all. We can list all, man.
Okay. The most difficulty I had making a film was actually The Nightmare Ends on Halloween Part 2, which was one of Chris's films. Mm-hmm. There were so many stops and starts with that film, to actors having to be replaced. It was I actually broke 2 of the claws on the very first take of the shoot. Wow. We had location issues with it. The whole thing almost got canceled. Wow. And it kind of regrouped and got redone, and then 2 weeks later we filmed it and it was done. But literally the first shot of that film, and I don't know if you've seen it, it's kind of like a Freddy and Jason and Michael mashup with Pinhead. Right. Yeah. The opening scene, I fall on the floor, and the box from Pinhead's box is there from Hellraiser, and I hit the ground, and the claw hits the ground, and snap, off comes the claw.
Oh wow!
And then we reset. Chris had a spare, and right down there, take 1, fall on the ground, take 2, fall on the ground, snap. I broke the second claw. And then the rest of the day was spent trying to weld it back together again, which we didn't do. that was no fun.
Right.
The most professional experience I had on a film was probably in The Happening, which was an M. Night Shyamalan movie. I worked on it for 2 weeks
Wow.
in 2007, I believe it was. Yeah, it came out in 2008. And that was the most professional time I had on a film. I started out as just being background in it, and Night picked me and two kids and and an actress out of the crowd and said, "We want you to do this part." And I get this little tiny line in it, which I'm not credited for, but it was still a lot of really, really good experience for me. And what was the third one? I forgot what the third one was. Oh, the most fun I had on set, which was a lot of work. Split up between two movies. I did a film called The Cemetery by Adam Albrecht. That was a lot of makeup, and it was all practical. There's no CGI in that movie at all. It's the goriest, bloodiest movie I've ever been in.
Nice.
And everything was practical. There wasn't any fake blood anywhere, and that was just like a lot of fun to shoot. It was like prosthetic contact lenses and makeup effects, and severed heads and everything's flying.
Very nice.
Really good. Awesome. And all the Kruger films have been special.
Which we'll definitely get into here in a moment. But if you could pick something, what's, I guess, some of your inspirations behind your acting and stuff like that?
Actors, you mean, that I look up to?
Actors.
I'm kind of more old school, little new school thrown in, but I'm kind of old school with people who I looked at and I thought, wow, I want to do that. Robert De Niro springs to mind, Tom Hanks springs to mind, Meryl Streep springs to mind, but I like other people too. People rag on Keanu Reeves. I think the guy, 90% of what he does, I'm a huge fan of. I think the guy's brilliant in picking his scripts. He picks stuff that he knows he can do, and he's good at the stuff that he does. Very few things I've seen him do where I didn't believe the character. Dracula, for one, I didn't think he was good for that role, but John Wick's a great movie.
Right.
I liked all three of them. People rag on him. I liked all three of them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hear a lot of people, man, they give him, just hell, a lot of times, and, say he's this bad actor and stuff. But I'm kind of like you. He's pretty much in some good, decent movies, and I don't have a problem with him.
Yeah, he knows how to pick films that he knows he's going to be good in. That's smart casting. Like, I wouldn't pick a film where they were trying to cast a guy who was like the all-American dad next door. I'm not going to get cast in that role, and I'm not the American dad next door. So, I wouldn't pick something like that. It's just smart in your decision-making process.
Awesome. Well, pick, what's one of your favorite all-time movies, if you had to pick one? I'm sure that's a hard question, probably, but if you had to pick one, what's one of your all-times?
Yeah, that is really the toughest question that anybody asks me, because I have favorites broken down into genres, and whether it's a TV series or a movie. My favorite genres are either horror or action or anything sci-fi, that type of thing, an action film, those types of things I like. So I like the Alien series. I think The Exorcist is a great movie. People laugh, but I like the Harry Potter series. I read all the books before each movie came out. I like that kind of thing. Again, going old school, there's a movie called All the President's Men, and I love the movie. It's like a kind of an espionage movie, but it's about the Watergate tapes. It's just acted really well. Huge stuff. I can't pick just one.
Right. I didn't figure, but I thought I'd give it a shot to ask. So, well, moving on to the Elm Street fan films. I've kind of got them listed here. One was Kruger, A Tale from Elm Street.
First one, yeah.
And Kruger, Another Tale from Elm Street.
Yep.
A Walk Through Elm Street.
Funny thing about that is we had a fan once who said, if you're going to do a third one, what are you going to name it? Yet Another Tale from Elm Street?
Oh, wow.
That makes me laugh. I was just like, you get bonus points for saying that, because that's really funny. But yes, Walk Through Elm Street.
And then The Slasher from Elm Street.
Yep.
and The Legend of Elm Street.
Yes.
Those are good. And I've seen all of them, and like I said at the beginning, brilliant, man. I think they're great. How did you get involved with the fan films? What brought you to them?
Okay. Well, I had been working with Chris Notarulli, the director, since 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, little by little, I went from going from small parts to supporting parts and everything. And I really hadn't been a lead in any of Chris's productions yet. And Chris came to me, we were in New York. I don't know if it was for an event or a screening or something, but we were coming back from New York. He was living in North Jersey at the time. And we're in the car, and he turned to me and he said, you know that movie I did, The Nightmare Ends on Halloween? And I'm not in the first one. It's a different actor. And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I'm going to do this prequel series of 3 films. I'm going to do a Jason one and a Michael one and a Freddy one. And he goes, when I was trying to think of casting for it, he goes, you kind of look like Robert Englund. And he goes, I think you'd be really good as Freddy. You know, would you be interested in doing it? And immediately my wheels start turning because, I mean, I went to see all of the Elm Streets in the theaters when they came out.
Nice.
And I actually love Robert. I think Robert Englund is just kind of unbeatable in the role.
Yeah.
And when he came to me and Chris came to me and said, do you want to do my Krueger prequel? He goes, it's not in makeup. It's going to be while he's alive. I immediately went, oh, wow, yeah, that's a great idea. That'll distinguish us from any other film that's out there right now. So immediately I was like, yeah. And when I read the script for the first one, and I went, nobody's ever done this before. I just thought to myself, you know, fans are going to, I hope fans are going to like this. I think they're going to like this because this is something that I know fans have been asking for a very long time.
Right.
Yeah, we went ahead and did it, and frankly, we were just shocked at the response to it. Right. But that's how it came about.
Awesome. Yeah, I said for a long time, I said, I wish they would make something of Freddy before, you know, he was dead and the nightmare in your dreams. And then I saw the fan films. I was like, freaking brilliant. I think one of my favorites, I'm not sure which one it was, but it's the one where you drive up to the park.
That's the second one.
The second one. Oh, man, I love it. I think that was great, man.
That is the most popular of the 5.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. Describe, I guess, a day on the set. Like, describe how it was.
Well, I can give you stories.
I know that's probably a broad question, but
there was never anything bad that ever happened on any of those shoots. Some of them took longer to make than the other ones. All the kids were amazing in it, and people ask us all the time too, how did you get kids to do that, and where were their parents and all this stuff. Every single kid that's been in any of the movies, at least one parent, most of the time both parents were there. We had the kids come in, we had them talk with me, you know, get used to me, because it's some pretty graphic, you know, not nice stuff, and we just got the kids to know me a little bit, so they knew that I wasn't the monster that they were gonna be in the film with. And but I'm the first girl, Gracie, who's in A Tale from Elm Street. I'd known her for a long time because we had worked with her father for a long time. But making it was very smooth. The first part of it with the little girl was very smooth. Mostly 1 or 2 takes, and I think we shot it in about 4 hours. Oh, wow. The interrogation part took a little bit longer. That was actually filmed in New York. The funniest story about filming that was Chris was trying to explain to Sean Parr, who played Lieutenant Thompson in it. Like, at one point, Thompson kind of freaks on me and knocks me out of the chair. Chris is he hates it when I tell this story, but he's like trying to show Sean how he was directing him how to knock me out of the chair, and he pushes me, and my head goes into the side of the wall, and immediately I start seeing white dots everywhere. And Chris is going, hey man, you okay? And I'm like, oh. But yeah, very, very easy. Working on those sets has been kind of like a joyful experience. Right. Working with the kids was great. Sitting through the makeup in the fifth one was not a lot of fun. That
I
was
bet.
Chris says an hour and a half. It felt like 2.5, 3 hours for me putting it on.
Hmm.
And that was the first time that I worn the full head of it because I was wearing a mask before when I did makeup stuff. But this was a latex cap. It was completely latex to my neck. It was makeup from here all the way back, and it felt like it took way over 2 hours to put on, and I had it on for 9 hours.
Wow.
So
That's a long time.
it's some retouching too, because
Right.
and we'd have to go and shoot somewhere with the makeup on, and then we'd have to drive 45 minutes to an hour to get to another location, and then shoot somewhere, then get in the car and drive somewhere else and shoot something. And so by the time we got wrapped, and Chris was like, okay, that's it, I got everything. I'm like, I got to take this off. I got to take this off. He's like, no, I don't think you should do that. He goes, it's late. You've got spirit gum on your face. Don't do that. And I was like, I can't have this on. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. I just ripped the thing forward, and part of my skin came off
Oh,
here,
wow.
here and everything. And he just went, I told you not to do that, but I did.
Right.
So yeah, they've always been great sets.
Awesome, man.
I'm really good friends with everybody who's been on them. So
So getting ready for to play the role of Freddy. I know this is probably a dumb question, but how long or how much of watching of Robert Englund did you take in to kind of get ready for that role? Because
go ahead. So
because with the one, I think you said was the second one, with the girl at the park. You could see a lot of the hand motions and just the way you walked and stuff, and I could see. I know he's been watching a little Robert Englund because.
yes, and that was intentional in parts. And actually, this is a really good question because I look at fan comments and fan questions and stuff, and some fans have said, and I think this has a lot to do with I resemble Robert. I mean, we got the same kind of nose, everything. As far as preparation, I did a lot of preparation before the first one, like more like a month of. I watched 3 of the movies a lot for mannerisms, and I watched the first one a lot, I watched the third one a lot, and I watched New Nightmare a lot, and a little bit of Freddy's Dead because really since we were doing a prequel, I wanted to watch Freddy's Dead just to see what he did in the prequel.
Right.
Part of it. And it wasn't watching it so much to copy Robert, it was watching it because I thought to myself, especially on the first one, we were trying to do like an homage that could lead right into the first film, the first Wes Craven film. So it was really a conscious effort to be a little bit more like Robert in that one than I was in the other 4 and the 4 that followed. So I kind of studied some mannerisms and, the gunslinger pose. Robert's even said this, when you put the glove on, it's kind of heavy.
Right.
So you kind of naturally go like this a little bit. That was the case with me too. I actually really didn't think about it. I just put the glove on, stood there, and I went like this.
Right.
It's a big metal glove, and the blades are about this long. So there was some preparation. There was like a little bit of voice work that I did, like just kind of little bits of inflections that I wanted to do because I wanted to make the character recognizable because this is Freddy without makeup,
Right.
and I wanted fans to go, yeah, that's the character. That's not how we've seen him before, really, not so much, but that's him. And really it was a concerted effort for the first one to do that. But after the first one, and when we decided to do the second one and the third one and so forth, I kind of wanted to go in more of a direction where it was, let me keep bits and pieces of that to keep the character together, but I really want to start doing this my way. And by the time we got to the 5th one, I didn't really I just stopped watching the movies at all. I don't think since the second one I really watched any of Robert's stuff. I just wanted to continue to do it the way I wanted to do it. Because ultimately, I think that's what people want.
Right. Yeah. And like I said,
They don't want total carbon copy of Robert.
right.
Even though I've been accused of that. And, but really, if you look at what I'm doing, I'm really not. I'm doing different stuff with my voice. I'm doing little mannerisms that aren't Robert at all. I'm doing facial expressions that aren't Robert at all. Some of them are. Some of them are definitely Robert. to keep the continuity going.
Yeah.
But for the 3/4 of it, at least, is not.
Right. Yeah. Again,
A
it's
lot of
great.
preparation, especially in the later ones where I had to be really evil in one scene, and then there's scenes with me with like my daughter,
Right.
which we did in the fourth one. There's my daughter, and I have to be this loving father in one scene, and in the next scene, sticking the glove through this little boy on the ground. So
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Did Joe get any, I guess, backlash from people? I mean, because it was kind of graphic. Because I think a lot of people forget that what Freddy really was before he died or got killed, and he was a horrible guy. So I do think a lot of people forget that. But did you guys get any backlash from that? Because the second one, which is my favorite, I have to admit though, but it is kind of graphic. It's not as graphic as the one with the boy.
Yeah.
Where you have him in the warehouse or whatever with the glove, but
the one that you like doesn't have any blood in it.
Right.
Everything that you see in that, it's all implied.
Right. But
it's
you just
pretty
know
bad. It's luring a child. And it's you think about that. Here's this little girl in a park, and look at what she does. Everything that little girl does is correct.
Right.
She says, "No, I'm not supposed to talk to you." Everything. Wouldn't tell him his name. Would say her name until the very end when she really thought her mother was in danger. That's scary stuff.
Heck yeah.
For any, I don't have kids. It's scary to me, and
I have a daughter too. So
can you imagine?
Right.
Some creep coming up. That must make your wheels turn.
Right.
That was the whole intention of the movie.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about the little boy getting stabbed. Chris felt, and when I read the script, I went, "You're really going to do this?" And he was like, and the way he explained it to me, and the way he's explained it in interviews, is that you can only allude something so many times until you either have to show it or disavow it or whatever. But if you're going to keep talking about something and alluding to something in your movies, eventually there has to be a payoff of it.
Definitely.
And I thought he did it pretty tastefully. You really don't see too much of it. It's like a flash. And I could explain to you how he did it if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, obviously I didn't stab the kid to death. We did a little video afterwards where we interviewed the little boy. And, he was totally fine, and his parents were there. You see them in the video. It's on our website. But the way we did the stabbing was there was a pillow, there was the kid's shirt, and underneath the kid's shirt was a very large slice of deli ham.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
With blood bags underneath it. So when I go like this and stab the kid, and then the knife goes in and the blood pops up, that's just a blood bag with a piece of ham on top of it.
Wow.
But you shoot it.
Wow.
So he's still alive. Just talked to him the other day.
Yeah, he's fine. If you could pick, which might be another hard question, but which was probably one of your favorites to be a part of? They're all great, but if you had
the
one.
Critters, not because I think it's the best of the 5, but because of where we shot it. A Walk Through Elm Street has a whole scene in front of 1428 North Genesee Avenue. Chris, we showed up there one day. The owner was there. We talked to the owner. Can we do about an hour or 2 in front of your house to shoot something? Sure, go ahead. And so to have that house in one of the films, and then later on with the 5th one, police station that we shot in front of, which is the same police station that's in the first Wes Craven movie.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the Cahuenga Public Library. Same building that Thompson goes in and Nancy goes in the first film. And we just wanted to have some continuity. So we wanted to do these as films that could be you could watch all 5 of ours and then go right into the canon of the entire first series. That was our thing all along. That's why we put Freddy's daughter in. That's why we put the thing with Thompson in there. That's why we had everything in front of the house. That's why we used the police station, everything. We didn't want there to be any continuity drop from our 5 films to the original series.
Right. Awesome, man. Now I don't know if you can answer this question, but will they be any like a put on DVD, or is it just strictly for YouTube and stuff?
Well,
or is it something you have to keep under wraps for right now?
No, I don't have to keep it under wraps because with it being to sell something, you have to have licensing for it.
Right.
We don't have licensing for it. That's why the films are on YouTube. Mm-hmm. They're free for everybody to see. Right. We can't sell them. We can't make a profit off of them. We don't make a profit off of them. The only thing that's ever been done is, since we can't sell it, when Chris does other projects, he's had people fund through like GoFundMe or something like that, and he makes one of the perks for people who fund it. He makes them a producer on the film, and a lot of the times he'll say, you can have a DVD of anything I've done. And most of the time people are like, well, I want the Kruger movies.
Right.
So, people will get the Kruger movies because they were a producer on another project. It's just a perk we gave them, but we don't ever sell them.
All right. Okay. Well, which of the Nightmare on Elm Streets is one or your favorite?
Well, the first one's always going to be my favorite one, just because it was just so different and iconic at the time. There's just nothing like it. And this has been said by I don't know how many people who've been in the movies. There just wasn't a killer who talked as much as Freddy did. He didn't talk that much in that movie. Later on, he did. And there just wasn't anything like that. It was just a really original concept. I remember sitting in the theater and thinking, God, I would love to play somebody like this. And then, lo and behold, I do.
Right.
But I like the first one. I love the third one, and I love New Nightmare. Those are my 3 favorite ones.
All right. I have to agree. Yeah, the first one and the third one is 2 of my favorites. So.
I was mad that Nancy died, but...
Oh, yeah. And I know she had to die, but I thought they would kind of, I guess, her kill would have been a little bit different, a little bit more than just dead and just throws her to the side, because,
yeah.
He's been after her for so long, So.
Yeah.
But, all right, man, awesome.
I agree.
Now, what's next for Roberto Lombardi?
Okay, let's see. Well, tomorrow, actually, I am finishing up the final scene of a trilogy of short films that are all called Masks. First one's called Masks, second one's called Masks. I don't remember right now. There's 3 of them anyway. And this is the concluding chapter of it. And I have 1 scene left to film, which I'm doing tomorrow, which is why I have a beard right now. And that will be finished editing probably by fall. And then the director's looking to go into film festivals for it. I don't know what he's going to do with it from there. I don't know if it's going to be a precursor to maybe a feature, but it's 3 half-hour shorts at this point. So it could be a feature eventually. Then after that, I'm going to be working with Chris again. Sometime in the fall. I think he's going to be doing 2 other, I don't know if you know much about his other film work, but he did a Frankenstein film recently called The Weary Traveler, where Renfield comes in to try and coax Frankenstein out to be examined, per se. Mm-hmm. He's going to do 2 sequels to them, to those, and I'm going to be Count Dracula in those.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Look forward to that, man. Awesome.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome, man. Now, if people want to find out, more about you or anything, where can they go?
I am literally everywhere on the internet. I have a Facebook page. If you type my name, Roberto Lombardi, and the word actor after it, you're going to get everything that I'm on. You're going to get Facebook, you're going to get Instagram, you're going to get Tumblr, you're going to get Twitter, and on down the line, I'm on all of them.
Very easy to find.
Yes.
And I'll definitely leave some links in the descriptions below for people to find out. So,
great. Thank you.
Roberto, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out of your schedule and coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it's been an honor. You're kind of the pioneer, so to speak, the very first guest on the show. So
I like that. That's
man,
great.
it's been awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for this show. And until next time, y'all know the deal. Stay safe. For more information on Roberto Lombardi, please visit facebook.com/Roberto Lombardi Actor.